Please welcome AGC's Speaker of the Night, Donte Curtis. Come on up, Donte. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So you probably know the research that says that public speaking is more feared than dying. Have you heard that before? Yes. Now, whether or not you believe it or not isn't really important. The reality is people are really, really scared to do what I'm doing right now. How many of y'all speak a lot in what you do? So whether it's coaching, whether it's pitching, selling, right? Maybe it's just professional development, right? Speaking is a very important part of what we do in business, in professional life. Maybe you speak with your kids, right? Speaking is something that we do. All of us as human beings. It's a natural means of how we communicate. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about upping your speaking game. But I'm not here to talk to you today about the science, because you know the science. Right? You read about the science. Things like make good eye contact. Make sure that you use your hands. Some will say don't leave the stage. That's more old school because I leave off stage all the time, but that's in the books. Right? But I'm not here to talk to you about that stuff because you can read about that. What you normally can't read about is the art of public speaking. That's what we're going to talk about today. Because public speaking is a science and it's an art. And if you can get the art down, the science will follow behind real soon. So we're going to talk about the art today. Is that all right? Mm-hmm. Yes, please. So the first thing that I want to tell you is, you got to raise your expectations. You got to raise your expectations, friends. Right? When we start to talk about speaking is different than talking. Just because you can talk don't mean you can speak. And everyone in 2019 believe, well, I can be a speaker. No, you can be a talker, but you may not be a speaker. Like, do you get paid to do this? Right? Do you have someone write you a check to speak? Right? Because speaking is different than talking. So I need you to raise your expectations, right? So every single time when there's an opportunity for you to speak, oh, you got to bring it. Right? This is like the Super Bowl. This is like the NBA Finals. Like, you're stepping on stage and you got to bring it every single time. There's no speech that's too small. Whether it's 2 people, 200, 2,000, your job is to keep your expectations high. You got to bring it. And oftentimes when I coach speakers and when I talk to speakers, right, oftentimes they will say, well, there's only going to be 10 people there. And your point is what? Because all you need is one person to say, you know what, I'm going to write you a check. All you need is one person to say, you changed my life. And so whether there's 10 people or 100 people, your job is to raise your expectations every single time. Somebody say expectations. Everybody say expectations. There we go. Expectations is important. Number 2 is you got to be excited. Whether you're talking about trinkets, or you're talking about football, or you're talking about St. Paul, or you're talking about fish in the ocean, or whales, or Greenland, or Iceland, I need you to be excited. I need you to come in and act like you're the most excited person who's talking about this subject. Because if you're excited, guess who's going to be excited? Your audience. Your audience has to be excited because energy is contagious. So if I'm excited, you're going to be excited. You can't help it. Because energy rubs off. Energy is contagious. I need you to be excited. Now, you can't always be excited as me because, it's me. But there's other ways to show excitement. There's other ways to be excitement. There's other ways to show excitement than just your voice. Right? So you can do it with your hands. You can do it with maybe the way you dress. Right? My dressing can show whether I'm excited or not. By the way that I show up. There's other ways to show excitement than just you being vocal and being loud and being flamboyant, if you will. I need you to be excited because if you're excited, your audience has to be excited. They don't have a choice. It's a law of physics for them to reciprocate the energy. The next thing that's important is engagement. Now, how many people here speak public, like professionally? Any speakers in here? When you book a speaking thing, what do we call it? It's called a speaking engagement. You better believe your number one job as a speaker is to engage your audience. You have to engage them. You got to. Because if you don't engage them, then they're going to fall asleep. and you're going to blame them when it's not their fault. It's your fault. Right? And people go to sleep on my presentations. I'm like, that was me. I did a bad job. Because if you're falling asleep, I'm not doing my job. But what does true engagement means? Because we talk about engagement, right? So engagement can mean eye contact. But engagement goes far deeper than that, right? I want you to think about how do you engage your audience before you even hit the stage. So I don't have a PowerPoint deck today. I did that on purpose because I don't want you to understand that it's not about the PowerPoint deck. It's not about the visual aids. It's not about the props. You are the main attraction. So when you're a speaker, it's your job. They came here to hear you. They came here to see you. They came here to listen to you. So you might have pretty visual aids and cute PowerPoints and all that's fine, but they're here to see you. It's your time. Engagement. But if you had a PowerPoint, one way that you could engage your audience is by making sure that they see themselves inside your PowerPoint. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I go sit in a presentation and I don't see me represented in the presentation. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if I'm at a conference, I don't see the conference name nowhere on the presentation. Yeah, you did that presentation a week ago. It means that if I'm talking to a certain demographic of people, that if I have pictures, you might want them to be represented in your PowerPoint. So don't go to North Minneapolis and have all white people. They're not going to be engaged. Why? Because white folks don't live in North Minneapolis. Engagement. It's about connection. You got to connect with them. Another thing that you could possibly do is you could have so their logo, right? So if I had a PowerPoint deck, I would put the AGC logo in my PowerPoint on my title screen. Engagement. They need to see themselves. They need to know that you were thinking about them before you even hit the stage. I was engaging with y'all before I even came here. Engagement. Another way to show engagement is to to actually walk among the audience. Now I can't walk because we got a camera person here, but if I could, you better believe I'd be over there, and over there. And when Travis told me that I had to stand here, I was like, oh man, I'm in prison. But that's all right, because I'm doing pretty good. But I want you to know that engagement is about stepping out and connecting and engaging physically with your audience. Another thing that you could do is ask questions. As you have noticed, I've asked questions and y'all have responded. That's engagement. It's kind of hard for you to go to sleep when I'm asking you to respond to me. And even more so when I'm making you respond, asking you to respond to me. Engagement. Engagement. We got to work on our engagement when we're speaking. Because that's ultimately how people are going to remember you. Because the point of speaking is for people to remember what you said. Not just tomorrow, but in months from now. So I do a lot of speaking. And typically there are rooms of 80, 100, 150 people. And I get emails all the time where people say, you know what, Donte? What you said in March resonated with me. How is that possible? It's August. You remember what I said. Now, we was at a conference, so it just wasn't like this, where I'm the only speaker. There were multiple speakers doing multiple things, all about the same topic, and you remember what I said? That stuck with you? Oh, that's engagement. That's engagement. It's August now. You're emailing me in August about something I did in March. Another way to engage is storytelling. How many of y'all were told stories when you were a baby? That means everybody know what a good story is, right? The three-legged pigs, right? Humpty Dumpty, right? We know these stories. Before you even talk, you understood story. You should always tell a good story. Because no matter what country you're in, no matter what demographic you're dealing with, no matter the age, everybody started with story. Engagement. It's the most simplest level to have it is to tell a good story. So that's a little bit about engagement. The next thing I want to talk to you about is emotional equity. Emotional equity. Now, we know about like social capital and, capital like finance capital, right? But we could also call this emotional capital, right? I want you to close your eyes for a second. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to remember where you were on 9/11. I want to shout out the first responders and our sponsor today for uplifting the veterans. But I want you to think about where you was on 9/11. You probably can see it real vividly. You probably can even smell it a little bit. You probably know exactly where you was that day. Why? Because we were all emotionally hijacked. Emotions create retention. So everybody in this room remembers where you were on 9/11 because you were emotionally heightened on that day. Why am I talking to you about speaking about emotional hijacking? It's because I need you as a speaker to use that to your advantage. My job is to get you emotionally hijacked. Or we could do the opposite. I can bring you real down. Because when I get your emotions involved, there's a whole nother dimension of your memory that's taking place now. I'm not just dealing with your head, now I'm dealing with your heart. You're going to remember this because your emotions are tied to it. And emotions matter. So if you're not emotionally hijacking your audience, well, you probably going to be just a talker. They just went to a talk. They didn't go to an experience because they didn't experience anything. Emotions are very important. Emotions are critically important to you retaining the memory, not just 5 days, not just 5 months, but years from now. When someone talk about they were inspired at a speech, that's because that speaker tapped into their emotions. They didn't talk about all the numbers and all the theories and all that. No. They got real to their emotions. And if you're going to be a great speaker, if you're going to up your speaking game, you got to tap into people's emotions and their emotional states. It's very, very important. The next piece I want to talk to you about as we close is that your speaking needs to be an experience. Your speaking needs to be an experience, a holistic experience. And so you need to make sure that you're just not here to give a talk, that you're just not here to do what you say you was going to do, but that this is a whole experience, that people leave here feeling excited, that people leave here feeling inspired, that people leave here feeling educated, that it's an experience that they can leave and say, hey, I enjoyed that speaker. That's an experience. Because let me be real with you. When people give feedback to speakers, sometimes it's good, but if it's bad, they will let you know. Oh, it's the worst feeling ever when somebody says on a feedback form that the speaker was born. Oh, you don't want that in your life. Right? You don't want that in your life. Especially if you get paid to do this, you don't want that in your life. Because it needs to be an experience. You gotta kind of show off a little bit, if you will. They gotta remember something. Whether it's your tie, whether it's how you dressed, something you said, right? But the ultimate goal is for them to remember. That's your goal as a speaker. My job is to get you to remember what I said next month and next year. That is the ultimate goal of speaking, is to have people remember why they were there and what they can get out of it. And the last thing I want to tell you as I come off the stage is that your last piece about upping your speaking game is you just got to execute, right? You got to execute this thing, right? You got to practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, and you got to execute this thing, right? At the end of the day, it's all about you. So you got to execute. You got to come in. You got to be ready. Yeah, I know. We all get nervous. I still get nervous. I was nervous back there. That's all right. You got to come in. You got to execute. Because if you flop, guess what you're doing? You knocking the next speaker. Like if I do a bad job, Travis may not invite somebody next month. Because this speaking thing ain't working. So I need you to execute, not just for you, but execute for me. Because all speakers are the same, but in groupthink, all speakers are the same. So if you do a good job, just know you're doing a good job for me and you're doing a good job for you. Hey, thank you, friends.
Thank you very much.